All right, we got Dynasty buy low running backs
Get 'em low
for you.
Mhm.
Okay, we got two running backs each that we personally love as buy lows this offseason in Dynasty. I'm going to give you my first one, and that is Trey Sermon.
Train the bay.
All right. Honestly, running backs are really difficult to look at in Dynasty, and they're especially difficult to justify what you should spend on them in the trade market. Okay, so my goal here was to try and find two running backs that I really believe that you could get at a heavily discounted price for good reason, maybe. But so let's talk about Trey Sermon. How did he become this buy low, right? Well, he was drafted by the 49ers in the third round of last year's draft. After that draft, he was ranked as high as the running back 18 before the 2021 season in Dynasty rankings. Again, we use crowdsourcing for this. Shout out to Keep Trade Cut. He was ranked as high as running back 18. Everyone was all aboard the Trey Sermon train.
No doubt.
Literally, no beat writer gave us the heads up that Elijah Mitchell was killing it at training camp and that he was going to be the guy. But he was, okay? And now, less than a year later, we're looking at Trey Sermon ranked running back 57, according to Keep Trade Cut.
Sheesh.
It's hard to find a running back that has dropped that low in the public's eyes in 1 year's time, okay? But I'm going to tell you why I still believe in him. And let me just start by saying this, okay? In the pre-draft process, I did have Mitchell graded higher than Sermon. I think we both did. We both liked Elijah Mitchell more than we liked Trey Sermon. However, at this point, I think there is still potentially value here. Number one, the reason being, I don't trust Kyle Shanahan, okay? He's an amazing head coach, but history shows how he's handled running backs really erratically, okay? Kyle was hired in 2017. Since that time, there have been so many running backs cycled through. Let's just, friendly reminder, name a few. Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, JaMychal Hasty, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon, Matt Breida, Carlos Hyde. Okay, Kyle loves to cycle players in and out of this backfield.
Right.
Okay, even this year, right? Even this year.
Even him.
We had a player who wasn't even a running back play the running back position in Deebo Samuel. Okay, so what I did is I looked at year by year since Kyle's been the head coach. Okay, I looked at year by year for the 49ers. I looked at their top running backs percentage of the team's total rushing attempts. Okay, so how many rushing attempts compared to the entire team percentage-wise was the RB1 on their team getting? For example, if we look at a workhorse, last year Najee Harris was a definition of a workhorse. He got 74% of his team's rushing attempts. Okay. Jonathan Taylor, 66% of his team's rushing attempts. Joe Mixon, 67% of his team's rushing attempts. That's the kind of percentage that you're looking for, that you want from a workhorse running back. Okay. So let's look at 2017, his first year. Carlos Hyde had 58% of the rushing attempts. 2018, Matt Breida was the most valuable running back here. 36% of the rushing attempts. 2019, Raheem Mostert was the RB1 here. 27% of the rushing attempts. In 2020, Jeff Wilson was the RB1 in this backfield. 28% of the rushing attempts. Okay, and then in 2021, Elijah Mitchell kind of raises that number a little bit with 41%. My point being, you really can't predict what Kyle Shanahan's going to do. Okay, and that should scare you tremendously if you own Elijah Mitchell. But it should maybe excite you a little bit if you own Trey Sermon, or maybe you can go trade for him and it will virtually cost you nothing. Okay. And the last thing I want to say is we can't pretend that the Niners didn't draft Trey Sermon over Elijah Mitchell and probably reach for Trey Sermon.
They don't pretend. They know.
No, but what I'm trying to say is they saw something in Trey. They trust their scouting process. They saw something to draft him in the third round when no one thought he would go that high. So to assume that he's not a part of the future, I think might be an error. It could be an error. So it's going to cost you nothing. I think you can send a mid-third in 2022 to get this job done. And, maybe Trey Sermon turns out to be nothing, but maybe he can be a part of this backfield. Maybe there is an injury that opens up the backfield for him to show an opportunity. He wasn't awful. I think he was getting 4.1 yards per carry. He only had 9 rushing attempts, but still, I mean, we're talking about the same head coach that watched Brandon Ayuk break out in year one and then because of his practice regime, decided not to give him the targets that he deserved. So to assume that Trey Sermon's completely done, I just think he's ranked way too low, and I think he's a good buy low at this point. I think you can get him for really, really cheap. I mean, go send Cordell Patterson away for Trey Sermon plus picks, right? I mean, like you can get creative in this, but I think he is worth looking at, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, look, Trey Sermons is definitely very, very interesting. I mean, I guess it's a good depth chart, a good depth piece to have on your team. It's interesting. It's interesting. My first player that is a buy low candidate for me is Ramondre Stevenson. And look, Stevenson's been doing his thing. I like this guy coming out of Alabama. He did all right, okay? And I do believe he is going to continue to take that next step coming into the 2022 season, okay? Let's look at where he got drafted. Obviously, he got drafted to the New England Patriots, where they had a bunch of depth in the 2021 season. Obviously, Damian Harris, J.J. Taylor, Brandon Bolden, Shoney Michel at the time in the all season before he got traded. And then he comes in and, he has an opportunity, okay? In week 10, this is his best game ever in his first year. 20 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, over 27 fantasy points. And there was no doubt that Ramondre Stevenson looked like the best running back on this team. We love Damian. We love Brandon Bolden. He was more of a pass catching guy. But Ramondre Stevenson looked more explosive. He looked faster. Every time, I remember Zach, we were watching that game, and he would put in the chat, bro, Ramondre just went off. I remember that specifically. I remember going back and watching it. And that was that play. That was that play where he ran on the sideline and he did something crazy. Another reason why you can potentially get Ramondre, well, that's a reason why I like Ramondre. The reasons why you can get Ramondre on the low right now, is because of Damian Harris. Okay, he still has another year on his contract. Okay, and at the moment, it looks like Damian Harris is going to be the workhorse moving forward. But we don't know that yet. It's all hypotheticals. But I do believe they're not going to re-sign Damian Harris, and they're probably going to continue to move on with Ramondre Stevenson as their true RB1 in the future. Okay, he will be getting the transition, and the transitioning, in my opinion, will be happening in 2022. Another big question is that who is the offensive coordinator? Josh McDaniels is now out. He's in Las Vegas Raiders. And, the whole reason why people are kind of hyped on Josh Jacobs right now is because Josh McDaniels is going to be this guy that, he used to love to run the ball in New England. Now Josh McDaniels is at the Raiders, and now everyone is buying in on Josh Jacobs, okay? I think you can still do the same thing here in New England, because let's not forget who's really running the show. It's Bill Belichick. He has always had a successful running back in the backfield, no matter who it was, okay? Obviously, he had Tom Brady for years, but we don't know who this offensive coordinator is going to be. Once it does come in, and once we know an official name, I think we'll be a little bit more confident in understanding who that's going to be. But I put my trust in Bill. Okay, I put my trust in Bill first, and then we go down the line. Okay, so I have full faith that they're going to get a good offensive coordinator. So for me, if I were you, if you need a good depth piece, a good RB2 in the future, I think Ramondre Stevenson can be that guy. And I think you can get him for cheap. Zach sent me an offer for him the other day. It was like a mid-second, 2022 second. I think you can get that right here, right now for Ramondre.
But you didn't accept it. That's what I was going to say. I don't know if he's a buy low, though.
I didn't accept it because I believe in Ramondre. I think a second round, who's going in the second rounds right now in Dynasty drafts in 2022. I think of, at least at the moment, you think of those guys like a Jerome Ford or, that's all. Or Wan'Dale Robinson, if you want to go wide receiver, or Sky Moore. I think I will keep Ramondre, invest in him a little bit more than getting a second round and going with another project into the 2022 season. So Ramondre Stevenson is my buy low candidate.
No, I get where you're coming from. The only I just don't know if you can buy him low. That's my only concern. But I get where you're coming from. I definitely like to take. All right, my last buy low is Ronald Jones. Again, the outcast, someone that I think you should be able to get. Not many people are looking. Look, we loved Ronald Jones last year. We really thought he was going to be the guy. At this point, I think you should be able to grab him pretty easily. Last year, let's talk about how Ronald Jones became a buy low. Okay, last year, according to crowdsourcing, so everyone's opinions collectively, he was the running back 26 in Dynasty. Currently now, 1 year later, he is the running back 50. This is all according to Keep Trade Cut. They do a great job at crowdsourcing. There's two factors here really that contributed to him being a buy low now. getting outplayed by Linney and his pending free agency. But I still think that there could be potential value here. And we're talking about a guy that, number one, has already proven production. Okay.
Right.
In 2019, over 1,000 total yards, purpose yards, and 6 total touchdowns, finished as the running back 25. In 2020, over 1,000 total purpose yards at 5.1 yards per carry, super efficient, and 8 total touchdowns, running back 20 finish. I think, like I said before, I think we can both admit that we really thought that he was going to be the running back this year because of what he's shown in the past. He's shown that he can be a great starting running back.
No doubt.
That didn't end up being the case, but I think a big reason why we believed that he could be that guy in Tampa Bay was because of how efficient he was in 2020. Okay. He was 21st in yards created. So that's basically the yards that he created after the blocking, kind of broke down. He was 20th in evaded tackles, 12th in breakaway runs. So he was able to get to that next level. 9th in true yards per carry. He was above average, serviceable running back, a guy that can be a starting running back for a team. He can be the 1-2, and then maybe you get a third down running back in. It didn't work out in 2021. Okay. But the good news is his situation is changing. And right now, everyone has the bad taste of Rojo in their mouth, but that sounds weird. But the situation is going to change, right? Ronald Jones is a free agent, okay? I could see him in a team like the Dolphins, maybe the Falcons. What if one of these teams who really needs a downhill runner gives him the chance? Regardless of where he goes, the situation will change, and that is very good for you. So, you ask the question, could he land in a situation it's just as worse? Yes. But the risk-reward factor is really, really intriguing for me for a player who is probably younger than most people think, right?
Yeah.
He's only 24 years old. I think he could revive his career. We have seen a lot of running backs this year, even in 2021, who went out and revived their careers when everyone thought that they were done. Think of James Conner. You think of maybe Leonard Fournette, and maybe that was a previous year, but it's something that teams are looking at and trying to reproduce. How do we get the value here in an aging running back? And he's only 24 years old, like I said. So for me, I think that there are signs. There's enough reasons for me to try and get him really cheap. I think an early third in 2022 could get the job done as well, similar to what it would cost for Trey Sermon. But yeah, I think it's definitely something worth exploring. And I'm trying to find home run hitters. I'm trying to find guys like Trey Sermon, the James Conner of this year. Who could be the James Conner of this year? Who could be, the guys who go into different situations or maybe opportunities open up and they can prove themselves. So that's my last. Who's your last trade for running back?
Yeah. Look, I'm a little bit scared of this one. This one is a massive, massive risk. I don't even like this one. Zach probably doesn't like this one. The fantasy community probably doesn't like this one. But I think we should talk about it. I think we should have the conversation. I don't think a lot of people are having the conversation, and that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's no doubt about it. This guy has been a huge disappointment. First running back coming off the board in this year, going to the Chiefs. We all got, I guess, land crazy. He got to the Chiefs. He was like, the opportunity is going to be there. I don't care who he is. No matter what running back goes there. Obviously, he got drafted over Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift, and that wasn't okay.
The scouts in Kansas City need to be fired. Yeah. Whoever was responsible for that. You could have chose anyone else. Any of the other top 4 or 5 running backs.
100%. But look, if you need a low-end RB2, a good flex guy, a depth piece, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be that guy. Let's not forget where he's at, okay? But everyone in the fantasy community is trying to sell him right now, and you can't get anything. If they're lowballing you like crazy, and you feel like, well, I might as well keep Clyde. So if you're somebody that needs that depth, why not go and try to get Clyde right now? Okay, once again, we were all excited that he got drafted to the Chiefs. Let's remember what happened in that first year in 2019. In 2020, when he first came in, he was technically behind a bad offensive line with the Chiefs. One thing that they needed to work on was the offensive line. They practically lost a Super Bowl because of that. Okay, and then in 2021, they invested in the offensive line, and then Clyde gets hurt. He didn't really have a good start, and then he misses 7 games. And then when he comes back, he was no longer the focus. Williams and McKinnon just outshined, and it was clear that they were better in that backfield over Clyde. They were more explosive. They gave him the opportunity. I felt like there was a lot of trust issues, with Clyde and
Jersey.
Yeah.
Trust issues.
And look, and honestly, I don't even want to go into the stats. The stats are absolutely terrible for Clyde. He is not the guy that you want. You look at a piece of paper. Oh, that's Clyde. There's no way he should be in the NFL. That's literally what you look at. Okay, so
one of the least explosive running backs in the NFL.
Once again, this is a depth piece, low in RB2, a guy maybe that you need in a flex position. In my opinion, you can get him low. Okay, obviously everyone wants to get as much as you can for him. He was a first round pick. He's on the Chiefs, and maybe. I've had conversations with people. I've tried to get a first. I even tried to get a second. Give me a 2.8. A low second, something. Nobody wants to. If you're willing to take the risk, if you are a Clyde owner and you're just trying to get rid of him, maybe get him, throw away a third. I think you can trade for Clyde for at least a third round pick or a second round pick. I'm not going anywhere higher than the 2.5 because I do believe there is still some talent that I would believe in over Clyde, but anything less than the 2.5 in your rookie in your rookie drafts coming up right now, I might be taking a chance on Clyde. But other than that, I don't think I want to invest anywhere higher than a 2.5.
It's so difficult. Hey, I mean, we're talking about a guy who was outplayed by Jarrett McKinnon, but when you put into perspective, he's younger than most of the running backs coming out this year. So
yeah, and
some of the running backs, but
take the chance. I think you should take the chance on Clyde. Try to get him as low as possible. Test the water, see what happens. Let him sit on your bench for a year. Maybe his situation changes. He obviously has another year on his contract with the Chiefs, but when he gets a new contract or he gets traded, I don't think they're going to pick up his 5th-year option or he's unrestricted free agent.
They won't.
Yeah, he's unrestricted free agent. He can probably go to another team that maybe he'll get a little bit of a better opportunity. Who knows?
Honestly, I want them to use him for what his best intended purpose is in the NFL, and that's like a really good third down running back. Like he can be like the James White of the Chiefs if they used him that way. Anyway, let us know. What do you think about these buy lows? I will say running backs are very hard to define buy lows. It's very
100%.
hard to find players that are worth grabbing but hopefully there's enough here for you to go make some moves. Let us know if you like it in the comments below.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.